I don't understand why Syracuse is locked down. He's the governor of New York State, but the epicenter of the country, and obviously, therefore, the state, is New York City. So can you tell me why Syracuse has to go bankrupt? I'm looking at my producer who is shaking his head. And it's not the Bulgarian shake, it's the American shake. Bulgarians, when they shake their head, it means yes, and when they nod, it means no. It's very confusing. See, nothing is addressed that's, to me, that is significant to be answered. Like, just ask anybody in charge, why did Sweden not lock down? And it has, as I reported in my column today, Sweden has about 10 million people. The other two Scandinavian countries, people think Finland is geographically part of Scandinavia, but it's not considered a Scandinavian country. So the other two are Denmark and Norway. So Denmark and Norway together have about 10 million people as well. Denmark and Norway 2 days ago lost 10 people, I think it was, and is that how it was? I think so. And Sweden 8. Or Sweden 10, excuse me, and Norway and Denmark together 8. So they lost 2 more people. Well, you could say, well, they lost a quarter more. So both percentages and absolute numbers are significant, correct? I mean, it's almost like saying, you know what? Last week I doubled my money. Well, that's significant depending on what the amount of money was. If you doubled $10, it's not significant that you have $20. But if you doubled $1,000, it is significant. So to say that Sweden lost a quarter more than Denmark and Norway together is significant if the number is significant. Or in the United States, I showed the data. Again, my column is an important column today, really important. I worked very hard on this one to get the data right. The questions aren't asked. Do you know the pressure being brought in Nebraska by Democrats to close the state? But the Republican governor has refused. And the numbers in Nebraska are infinitesimally small. I'm sure more people died of the flu than of the COVID virus in Nebraska this past year. So Andrew Cuomo says, listen, folks, I know, I forgot the word he used, but it was not a strong word. Inconvenienced or something like that. It wasn't that exactly. But you have to think of the greater good, and therefore you have to continue to stay in isolation. In other words, not to infect others. But I'm thinking, my position is exactly that. I'm thinking of the greater good, so I want to open up society. I'm not personally affected. I'm still employed. And every conservative I know, it is an amazing gap between conservatives and non-conservatives here. It's amazing. It's so the exact same issue, right? A disease that affects everyone or no one. I mean, it does not know Republican or Democrat, this disease. And that the responses are so different. I think of society, and I think we need to open up. Others, and by the way, people of goodwill, you think of society and think we have to stay closed. That's right. So which is better for society? That's the question. Oh, boy. The numbers are really just fascinating. I read yesterday to you, it was astonishing how this epidemiologist, actually biostatistician at UC Berkeley, quoted in the LA Times, said the issue is 1 or 2 days. That makes all the difference when you close down. And that's the reason California has so many fewer deaths than New York City or New York State. But then but Florida closed down much later than New York, and And it's not having anything like New York, and it has the highest percentage of old people in the country. It's tied with Maine. Isn't that interesting? Did you know that? That was a shockaroo. Maine and Florida. So do a lot of people retire in Maine for the weather? It's a bit odd of a place. I mean, it's not known for its weather. But be that as it may, I trust the data in that matter. So you have Andrew Cuomo looking and saying, "Oh, it's good for society to do this," and people like me looking at it and saying it's good for society to do that. Victor Davis Hanson. Are there any of the major conservative writers who have a different position, or the folks in talk radio? Isn't that interesting? And believe me, we don't get together on these matters. It would be a non-issue to differ. We would respect each other. But I'm telling you, the conservative mind functions differently. Among other things, it recognizes that life is filled with vicissitudes. You cannot have a perfect response. That we also believe the best is the enemy of the better. What is his name? Ezekiel Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel's brother. What is he? Is he an epidemiologist? What is he? He's a doctor. Yeah, and he was the head of what under Barack Obama? He was in some major position under Barack Obama, and he is the health advocate or aide to Joe Biden. I'm sorry? Advisor. He thinks it should be 18 months. Why is that taken seriously? Why doesn't anyone in the press ask Joe Biden, your health advisor thinks that the country should be closed for another year and a half? Do you agree with him? That's why the press is not serious. What is her name? Lara, the CBS correspondent who was horribly beaten and raped in Egypt. What is her last name again? She is going to be she's now doing her own show, and she's going to be, we have to have her on. She's doing it on and she's not Logan, thank you, Lara Logan. I knew it was an L. And she's going to be doing one on is the press liberal? I think it'll be a serious thing. I think she's a serious thinker. 1-8 Prager 776-877-243 776. These are the questions to be asked. We should have a thing if you could ask Joe Biden one question. Oh, talk about Joe Biden. The way the New York Times covered all the women who have charged him with sexual improprieties versus the way it covered Brett Kavanaugh, that alone should invalidate the New York Times as a serious source of news for you.